Welcome back to High Crime, a show where I take an edible and get way too stoned and talk about a fucked up serial killer.
Back to Cali. I'm going back to Cali. I don't think so.
Let's get into it. I'm gonna take a little cocktail. I'm gonna do my sativa again because I actually like that. Plus, Uplift Tangerine. Yummy. It's chewier than I remember. And then I'm just gonna do, again, my go-to, baby. Highly recommend these. How much should I take? What does my heart say? That's what my heart says. Woo!
Styling, profiling.
What a world we live in, folks. You know? What crazy times. I'm so happy to be not sober right now. Oh, I love it. It's a perfect choice for me right now. Today, we're gonna throw a lady in the mix. Whoa! What was that? Something moved over here.
I don't know.
You're supposed to rescue me!
Assuming you put it away bad.
You're ruining this. Anyway, today we're going to be covering Dorothea Puente, the Death House Landlady. Did I say that? Deathland House Lady? Deathland House Lady. Death House Landlady. Nailed it. Jesus Christ. What a career she had. I am not prepared for this one. At all. Like, at all. But, I mean, my self-worth is in my productivity and what content I churn out, so here we are, you know? Dorothea Puente was born... Dorothea... Just forget it. Just forget it. Dorothea Helen Gray. She was born in 1926 to two violent alcoholics. Her dad just abused her terribly, and her mom was said to peace out for a few days at a time. So when Dorothea was, I believe, 8, her father died, and her mom could not take care of her, so she sent her to an orphanage. Ouch. Oh my God. No amount of therapy would have ever made that okay. I'm getting sad. I have to move on. But she's still a bad person. She did bad things. That's just fucking sad. Soon after that, her mom did die. And so she was orphaned for real. Around this time is when she started to compulsively lie. There's a difference between a liar and someone who's delusional. Because the liar, if you confront them and you're like, you've lied about this, they're usually like, yeah, you're right, I lied, and like apologize. But someone who's delusional, they believe the lie they're telling. So they actually think they're that. And Dorothea was that, very delusional. She, at one point said that she was one of 18 children and was born in Mexico. She said that she won $10,000 on an NBC game show and told someone else that she was a movie star. So she was known to embellish the truth, let's say. She was always very manipulative, and she at some point was diagnosed with schizophrenia. She had a horrible temper and a bad shopping problem. She was very sick and had no impulse control. That's a good mix. That's someone you want on your team. On your serial killing team, that's someone you want. You know what I mean? When she was 16 years old, she married Jack McFall, who was a veteran. He was 22, and he thought she was just so charming. He thought she was hilarious, that like all these like the lies she was telling and all these like fun little quirks she had, like stealing, he thought that was so adorable and so endearing. When she put a different name on their marriage certificate, he was like, that's so funny. That is so cute. That's not a red flag. That's not sounding off any alarms. I don't know. He thought it was cute. But the dummy died 2 years later, so what does he know? awful. So I believe with either him or just some random guys, she had 2 daughters. One she gave up for adoption, one she sent to her relatives in Sacramento, and then she had a miscarriage. So that's also fun for her, not damaging at all. And then she met a Swedish man named Axel. He's Swedish. His name is Axel. That's all you need to know. They had a terrible 14-year marriage. They both were violent alcoholics. I just spit across the room. And they would have like all-out brawls. In 1960, she was arrested at a brothel. She said she was visiting a friend, but she was 100% running that shit. That's so funny. That's so funny to me. Just me hanging with a friend at work, just visiting a friend at the office. That's a quirky sitcom I'd watch. And she went to jail, and then when she got out, she hit the streets and got arrested soon after for vagrancy. I had to look that up. Which it basically means just being homeless. But through all of this, Axel stayed with her for some reason. I don't know, I guess she's got a bomb-ass pussy. And after that, I believe she got a job as a nursing aide. She started to drug the patients and steal from them, so like money or jewelry. And then they were like, yo, she's stealing from me. Dorothea was like, they're just old and dumb. They don't know what they're talking about. And people would be like, okay, because nobody cares about old people. And it's very sad. I'm getting emotional again. I need to move on. So then she divorces Axel. I don't know what was the last straw for them, but couldn't have been good. She marries Roberto Puente in Mexico City, and he was 19 years her junior. This poor motherfucker. She chose his last name. Damn. So she took over this 16-bedroom house. It was like this old Victorian house. All Victorian houses are bad. They're all haunted as fuck, or that's it. They're just haunted as fuck. A lot of murders happen there. When you're with the real estate agent and she's like, I have this beautiful 19th century, you go, no, thank you. No Victorian house for me. This was in Sacramento on 9th Street. F Street? A street. So that marriage did not work, and she quickly married another man whose name I don't remember right now. Was it quickly? We'll never know. And he started to notice that she was doing some shady shit, like stealing and lying, and I believe that marriage lasted a month or 2, and so it was annulled. Good for you, man. Get out of there. And at some point she does a bunch of murders, and I'm blanking on all of it right now. It's all gone from my memory. I actually didn't. A lot of research. I'm lying to you and I'm lying to me when I say that. But I do know about this serial killer, and all of it is gone now from my memory. So then she started to stay out a lot. She would like go out and look for men who had pension checks or money. She was caught on 2 instances. One was a man who she met at a bar, and he invited her home. She went home with him and drugged him and stole all of his shit. And he woke up like 18 hours later and was like, that's fucked. And she did it to a friend. She called that friend and was like, I'm so drunk. This was 10 in the morning. She was like, I'm wasted. Everyone's being so mean to me. I'm being horribly mistreated. And she was like, please, let's go out. Let's go out. Her friend's like, I don't really want to go out at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, Dorothea. Thanks. Finally, Dorothea convinced her to come over, and she brought brandy and vodka with her. She was like, "What's up, bitch?" And she made her friend a drink. And it was like this concoction of brandy, vodka, a bunch of other fruit juices, and apparently a roofie of some sort. So her friend drank it and woke up when the sun was down and was like, "Oh my God, I've been robbed." The man she brought home from the bar testified against her at her trial, and so she went to jail for that. But before that, this section of time is pretty fuzzy to me. The bitch was busy, okay? So she started to run, I guess, a nursing home, some type of like elder care out of her 16-bedroom home. And she would take in older people, especially those that had a pension. I think that's what it's called, pension, IRS check, I don't know, you get it when you're old. And so she would murder them and still cash their pension check. So she would collect all of this money from people because people didn't know they died. That's fun and very, very sad. She would forge their signatures on these checks. And I think at one point she got caught and she just lied and lied and lied. And I believe got away with it because she was just so good at her lies. So before she went to jail for drugging and robbing those people, she took in a woman named something. Ruth Monroe. Her kids would come see her a lot, and so they had a pretty good relationship with Dorothea. And one visit, her kids saw that she wasn't feeling well, and she was like in so much pain and like couldn't move. And they're like, "That's very weird. My mom doesn't really have any health issues and she's not that old." The daughter was like, "What's going on here?" And she's like, "She's just upset over your father dying." So I believe the next night or a few nights later, Dorothea calls them and was like, "You need to come now. Something's wrong with your mom." And they come over and Dorothea opens a door and it's just like a mess. Like, "Your mom died. She died." And they're like, "What? How did this happen?" And apparently she overdosed on codeine and Tylenol. Fuck yeah, dude. Fucking sick, bro. Fucking party. That's wildly insensitive. I am so sorry. So her kids went to the police and were like, "This is super weird. Please look at this. What is happening? We think she had something to do with my mother's death." The police were like, there wasn't enough evidence, and so they couldn't investigate. And he consoled them with like, "Look, at least she's in jail, but I don't think their mom ever got justice." So when she was in jail, apparently there's this program where you can, a man can write to female prisoners in a romantic way. So she started corresponding with Everson Gilmouth from Oregon, and he fell hard and she loved that he had a pension check. So when she was released, he was there with a red Corvette to pick her up. And so he like moved down to Sacramento for her and they got engaged. They never got married, but I believe she killed him a few years later, a few months later. I'm not here right now on another fucking plane. I feel like there's more to that story. Oh, so she had put Everson's body in the box. After this, she hired someone to, I believe, like an ex-convict. She found on, I don't know, Craigslist. You get what you pay for. To build her this box that she said she was going to store like books and other things in. And so he did, and then she like paid him an additional amount to help her take the box to storage. But like halfway there, she was like, "Actually, this is fine." And they like dumped the box in a river. I don't know. Oh, just so many things happened. I feel like there's more in that story. Stop looking at me lovingly.
I love you.
It's very unsettling.
Every
I'm
time I've heard that.
deeply disturbed. So she was loved by social workers because she took in everyone. Like, even those with a heavy drinking problem or who were mentally ill. And she was known to throw like these lavish parties for people in the neighborhood or like anyone. And people said that she was either like just a sweet old lady or like cold and manipulative. Social workers brought her a lot of mentally ill and unhoused people, and she would take them all. She did not discriminate because money is money, and she's just a sweet old bitch. There was one person, however, he was someone who I believe was like very beloved to the social worker community. He was this unhoused, very schizophrenic man who would like speak to himself, but like very sweet and gentle. The social worker would come and visit him, and Dorothea was like, he left with a family member. I've not seen him. And she had someone pose as him and call the social worker to be like, I'm good, all good. But the social worker was still like, something's not right. Something doesn't feel right. Then she called the cops. So the cops go do like a wellness check, I think. And they search the house. One of the detectives finds like a bottle of like these big blue pills, and the name was Dorothy Miller, I believe. And the cop comes out and is like, what's this, Dorothea? And she's like, my relative, my cousin came, and her name is Dorothy Miller, and left it here. And that's that story. At one point when she was like, she couldn't be a prostitute anymore, and she couldn't like get by on just her looks, when she turned around like 50-ish, she like leaned into the sweet old lady look. So she let her hair go gray, and she said she was 79 as opposed to like 59. So she was very unassuming. So I guess the cops were like, yes, absolutely, that makes sense what you're saying. I believe you. But she does not look like a sweet old lady to me. Look at this, or here, I don't know, I'll put it somewhere. But this is not the face of like a sweet old lady. This face fucking terrifies me. If my grandma looked like this, I would kill her myself. She was also very cooperative and like happy to help them out. So one of the times when the cops were there, one of the patients who like wasn't mentally ill or an alcoholic came to them and like slipped them this piece of paper that said, meet me at this time at this place. And they met, and he told him like, there's a bunch of holes in the backyard. Like, she hires ex-convicts to come over and just dig these holes. And the last time he saw that guy, he heard something being like dragged down the stairs. It sounded like, I don't know, maybe a body, something heavy. And so the cops were like, we gotta check that out. So there was like a few searches, I believe. And then at one point they were like, can we dig? And she's like, yes, absolutely. Here's a shovel. She gave them a shovel. And they started to dig in the yard. And one detective at one point got to like the third hole after finding nothing in the first two holes. And he like reaches in and like starts to pull on something, and it won't come out. And he pulls again, and he falls backwards, and in his hand is a human shin bone. At one point, a neighbor was like, hey, I found some teeth in my yard, some gold and silver teeth. The detectives, they keep finding bodies. They find the body of Dorothy Miller, and they were like, where's Dorothea? And at some point, she had just slipped out to get some coffee and just went ghost. They couldn't find her for 5 days, and finally they found her in Los Angeles, I believe, right in our beautiful, beautiful city. So she was arrested, and they sentenced her to life in prison, and she denied the murders all the way up to her death in 2011. So she was kicking right to the end with those lies. I mean, I guess you just gotta double down on the lie, right? You just gotta like really lean into it. She was arrested in 1988, I believe. She said she was 78 or something, but really she was 50 something. So she would have been forever years old when she died in prison. So she was convicted of 3 of the 9 murders she was charged for that all sounds right. That was too much information for me. I did such a good job, you guys. I'm so proud of me. Like and subscribe! Let me know if you have a killer or drugs. I'll take them both. Bye, guys.
That was fast, but this girl was faster. She was looking for a real good time.